Hello everybody and welcome back to another Oscar prediction video. Now, some of you, I imagine, are probably wondering why this took so long. Some of you may also be wondering why there was never a second part to the mid-season awards video that I did. And some of you might be wondering why the audio sounds different. If it does, it might. I'm not sure, I'm still recording it. But I can answer all of those questions with one simple answer, and that is my computer broke. Basically, the computer just died and it wouldn't take a charge. It was a bad computer anyway. I'd had it for a long time. And so I was unable to, as of right now, I have a new computer, but it took a while I didn't have the same movie making software that I used to make these videos. And so I sort of had to improvise. But that was also in the midst of a lot of other things going on, in the midst of a lot of depression and anxiety that I was working through. And yeah, it was just this whole big thing. So that was why it took so long to get this video to you. This is a very late July update. And with all of that being said, I'm going to try to get to the predictions. And I'm also going to try something a little bit different, and I want to see how you guys react to it. I usually do these starting with documentary, international, and then working my way up to picture. But today I'm going to try something a little bit different just to see how it feels. I'm going to start with picture and then work my way down. And hopefully that means I get all of my big conversation topics right out of the gate at the beginning, and then that sort of applies to all the technical categories as I get to them. So with all of that being said, we're going to start with Best Picture. Sing Sing, I still have it #1. I have not seen this yet, but I really want to, and I think I should be able to see this pretty shortly. I've heard nothing but great things about it. And I have Blitz at #2 because there's a lot of eyes on that one to be one of the major players. Most of these I don't need to say too much about because I've talked about them in previous videos. But one big change that I want to talk about is Night Bitch. So some of you may be aware that I've been doing these videos reacting to certain books where I've read Nickel Boys and Conclave and talked about how these books might be adapted into films. And I was intending for Night Bitch to be the third of that series. I'd had the book and I had started reading it, and I ultimately ended up not finishing it, not because the book was bad, but because it was a very anxiety-inducing book, or at least I was finding it to be, and for my own mental health reasons, I decided to put it down. But from what I did read, I can tell you a lot about what this movie is going to be. I think from the logline, a lot of people were expecting a surrealist comedy, and while there's certainly aspects of that in this story, the genre that I would actually use to define this book, believe it or not, is horror. This is a horror story, and the analogy that I'm about to make is certainly going to make some of you very intrigued. Remember how in Black Swan, we have this whole conceit where this main character may or may not be turning into an animal, they may be experiencing a slow, graphic body horror transformation, or they might just be having a mental breakdown. Well, that's basically what's going on in this book, only replace swan with dog, and replace trying to achieve perfection as a ballerina with trying to achieve perfection as a working mother of a toddler and a neglectful husband. So, with all of that being said, I can understand why Amy Adams said yes to this material. There certainly is a lot to chew on, pun fully intended, and it is bizarre to me that Marielle Heller wanted to direct this material, but I'm certainly very intrigued. And if this goes far, I think this could potentially work. This could potentially be a really fascinating, anxiety-inducing thriller horror film. Now, the Academy usually doesn't go for horror, with Black Swan being the rare exception. And Marielle Heller is someone who's made films that have gotten Academy Award nominations before. And the other thing, as I'll point out in a minute, Marielle Heller really is the only female director attached to a considerable awards contender, unless something comes out of nowhere. And I think because of that, the movie is going to get a bit of a leg up. I I've certainly wanted Amy Adams to win an Oscar for a long time now, and I was very, very hesitant because of that log line. But after reading some of the book, admittedly not the whole thing, and getting a sense of the kind of vehicle that this could be, I'm very, very intrigued. And I think the poster is intriguing, the casting is intriguing. This could be big, but be aware, this could also be, I'm thinking of ending things, Beau is Afraid. It could go in that surrealist direction, which would obviously not be great for Amy Adams' chances, but I keep thinking about that Black Swan analogy in my head, and I think the two stories could potentially be very close. And the idea of Amy Adams having a vehicle even remotely connected to Black Swan is very exciting for me, and I'm sure very exciting to a lot of you as well. Now, with that being said, there's not a ton of other changes going on in the Best Picture lineup. I did take out Seed of the Sacred Fig. I think that one is slowly losing momentum, and I think there was so much of the meta-narrative with that director that was getting it attention, but I don't know how well the movie itself is going to get attention. I think that attention has been fading. Now, Joker, I don't know. I think Joker could potentially crash and burn. I keep thinking back to Furiosa earlier this year, which it was well received. It was a movie that a lot of people really liked, but I think we kind of moved past it because we've seen the better version of this movie, and I think Joker could be in a very similar boat. Now, Gladiator, I'm also not fully willing to commit to it, even though it had a very impressive trailer, but Ridley Scott is so hit or miss that I think people might be overhyping this one just a tad, but yeah, I'm certainly keeping an eye out for it. The thing is, we know Dune Part 2 is getting into Best Picture, and then I feel like either Joker or Gladiator 2 could get in, but I'm not sure which one to predict yet, and I don't see a world in which 3 sequels get nominated for Best Picture. So we'll just have to see on that. Now, for Best Director, I have, there's not much change, but I have moved Marielle Heller in, which I fully admit is a little bit of a gamble. I'm just not 100% sure who else should be there, and I do think there will be a push for her, not just because she's a female director, but also because the movie is going to do some very inventive things, I believe, with its take on the material. Again, the director and the material is just such a weird combination to me that I feel like it's going to pay off. Now, there's not much movement outside of that, except I've moved Mohamed Rasuluf down. As I said before in Picture, I don't really know how the narrative of what he had to do to get the movie made, how much that's going to impact him, because obviously it's a great narrative when it comes to getting a nomination, but I think the movie also really, really needs to be there. Now, for Best Actress, once again, you'll see I have a lot of confidence in Night Bitch. Maybe unfounded confidence, but Amy Adams, it's been a while since she's had a really, really juicy role, and I think we've been thirsty for her to get a role like that, and this is certainly that type of role. So I'm crossing my fingers. I think a lot of us are crossing our fingers that Adams is going to do well. But the other big news is that I have decided to put Saoirse Ronan in this category for The Outrun, and spoiler alert, but you'll see later on that I have her in supporting for Blitz, because the studio is at least considering putting her supporting for Blitz, and I think the movie is more of an ensemble movie, or if there is a protagonist, it is the child actor who plays her son, and also Saoirse Ronan is very, very good in The Outrun, and there is consideration about her potentially getting a double nomination this year. And I do think that's, well, I will say this, if Ronan is in supporting for Blitz, she has a much easier pathway towards victory, and is an actress who is very, very respected, and it makes sense that she can join the rankings of people like Scarlett Johansson, Cate Blanchett, Julianne Moore, who have gained that double nomination lead in supporting. So I do have that happening. I also bumped up Carla Sofia Gascon in there, because I think the narrative of her being the first trans acting nominee at the Oscars is a big deal. Unfortunately, that did mean I had to move out Jolie and Gaga. I hope the Gaga heads won't come after me. I know that Jolie, there's a lot of temptation to have her on because of Spencer and because of Jackie, and I admit it makes sense, but I'm just being a little cautious. And I think there's a lot of names that could get in, a lot of names that could contend, and we just sort of have to see where everything goes. And there's not a whole lot to add there. For Best Actor, I still have Colman Domingo at number 1 and Ralph Fiennes at number 2. We did get the first trailer for Conclave, I will say that, which gave us a really good look at the movie. Fiennes is not perhaps as going as big with the character as I thought he would, but maybe they're saving that. I still feel pretty confident about Domingo in the number 1 position. Ironically, this 5 seems to be... It kind of peters off after this 5. As you'll see, 6 through 10 are not super strong. And I think looking at other people's predictions, a lot of people sort of reluctantly have this 5 because they're not really sure what else to go with. I will say I didn't really talk about The Apprentice earlier, but as I've stated in previous videos, I do think, given how insane this election cycle has been, I do think it's very, very likely that the movie is going to show up somewhere. I think that it's going to leak online, even if the studio doesn't want to release it. I think it could be the October surprise in a season that's had a lot of surprises, and I think it could play a role in award season that way. There's a world where it plays a very big role in award season, but there's also a world in which it doesn't come out at all. And so I'm sort of hedging my bets a little bit by having it get nominations here and there, but not overperform to a ridiculous extent. And then for Best Supporting Actress, so I've moved Saoirse Ronan to the number 1 position. I know that Aunjanue Ellis Taylor... Okay, so it came out recently that she is actually playing the grandmother after it was reported at first that she was playing a new character. That could affect the way the performance is done. The grandmother is actually not given a ton of screen time, or I guess page time, in the book. But it is possible that role could be beefed up a little bit for the movie. And speaking of beefing up roles, I initially was very, very hesitant about Isabella Rossellini, but after seeing the trailer, she is very prominently featured in that trailer. And so it really does give the impression that they have beefed up that role for the movie. And so because of that, I feel more confident in her. I feel bad, admittedly, about leaving Selena Gomez out, and I think she's very clearly number 6. I also think it's interesting that we have both Selena Gomez and Ariana Grande, these two Disney Channel / Nickelodeon kid actors. They're sort of getting a big bump up in their careers. They've had impressive acting careers and music careers since their child actor days. But to see them both, I think it would be unlikely for both of them to get nominated. I'll say that. And Saoirse Ronan, as stated before, I think she is really well respected. I had her at number 1 for lead. If she's going supporting, why wouldn't I have her at number 1 for that? And this might be one of those cases where it's really co-lead, is it really supporting? If there's some debate about that, it could actually help her chances in winning supporting actress. Now, supporting actor, I still have Clarence Macklin. Really itching to see that movie. After I do, I'll tell you what I think about his chances of winning. Still, I know everyone else has Samuel L. Jackson, but something just feels slightly off to me. I'm going to try to read that play next. Maybe that'll be the next thing that I read. That or the book Queer, which I've ordered from another library and it's not come in yet. Now, Tucci and Lithgow, I think both of them could contend. It's weird because I think the movie is going to be very ensemble heavy, so maybe both of them will get big moments, maybe neither of them will, or maybe a certain somebody else will step up. There is a certain actor that I've just realized now is going to be playing a certain character, and I was debating, do I put them into the thing, but then I'm like, even admitting that this performer has Oscar buzz for their role in the movie could be spoiling the movie, so for that reason, I'm not going to go into that. But I actually don't think that actor is going to receive a ton of credit. It's precisely to keep the twist hidden. Now, I have Kieran Culkin there. I have Scoot McNairy there. I think that either of those could be legitimate contenders, but I don't really know. And this does not seem like a super strong acting category, I gotta be honest. Again, we're seeing this more and more often these days where the female acting categories are very, very crowded, and the male acting categories, you kind of have to struggle to fill the 5 slots. It used to be the other way around for the longest time, but times they are changing. Now, speaking of one category being a lot harder to fill out than the other, original screenplay is actually looking pretty barren this year in terms of the movies that are going to be legitimate Best Picture contenders. I have Anora and Blitz in there, I have The Apprentice, and then for the last 2 slots, I have Seed of the Sacred Fig and Challengers. I recognize that Challengers might be a bit of a tough stretch, but it's a movie that a lot of people really seem to like from the first half of the year, and I can see it getting a lot of attention in what is a pretty weak year, or at least looking to be a pretty weak year. I really don't know how well a lot of these other movies are going to do in the race. Emilia Perez, I am now hearing a lot of reports that that's going to go adapted, and so I have moved it over there. Seamless transition into adapted screenplay. But, see, I keep debating, should I move this higher, should I move this lower? I really, really don't know. I think Sing Sing, Nickel Boys, Conclave, Night Bitch, I think all of these are looking to be big contenders. And The Piano Lesson, I could take it or leave it, but I do think that the August Wilson name is a lot, and both Fences and Ma Rainey got the nomination, even when the latter missed picture. So I do think this one should be reasonably safe there, but there are a lot of other movies looking to take that slot. And now we move into the craft categories. And do the craft categories feel differently now that I'm doing this in the reverse order? Kind of. Now, some may be confused that I have Night Bitch in here, but I just think that if they duplicate the style that the book is written in, the book does not really have chapters. It kind of just keeps going and is kind of unrelenting. There's a lot of sentences that keep going on, and a lot of repetition, and a lot of... It really is anxiety-inducing the way it's put together, and if the editor puts the movie together in a similar way, then I could see that being a top contender. Yeah, Joker, I still feel really weird about in a lot of categories, but yeah, I'm actually erring on the side of caution for now, because again, after Furiosa, which we'll get to in a couple tech categories, I don't know how well that's going to do, and I don't know how well Joker's going to do. Dune, we know, is going to do well, and Gladiator could potentially be shaping up to do quite well indeed. Now, looking at cinematography, there I have Gladiator in, and I have Nosferatu in. After that first teaser, this is quickly becoming a lot of people's most anticipated movie of the year, and I do think that, I don't know if it's quite black and white, but it's very stylized cinematography that is sure to get a lot of attention. And again, they nominated a black and white vampire movie just last year that wasn't the best received, and I think Robert Eggers is maybe overdue a slot that maybe isn't going to be... I don't think Nosferatu is going to be a Best Picture player, but I do think it's going to have a lot of eyes on it for the tech categories. Now, production design, you'll notice Dune, Blitz, Wicked, Nosferatu, and Gladiator 2, a lot of strong showings there. And Gladiator 2 is sort of filling the space that Furiosa was, and that I'm thinking it could get into quite a lot of tech categories, and Furiosa does seem to be slipping. It's not totally dead, it could still show up in some tech categories here and there, but I don't feel like it has the momentum that it once had. Now, costume design, funnily enough, I almost had the exact same 5, and I decided at the last second to switch out Maria and Gladiator 2. I know this doesn't really make sense if I don't have Jolie in actress, but I just can't imagine production and costume design being the exact same 5. And so I made this choice. There's going to be some nice dresses in that, even if there's a world where Jolie isn't an actress contender and the movie gets into picture anyway. Gets into costume design. Sorry. Yeah. Again, lack of sleep, anxiety, depression. I'm just all over the place today. Now, makeup and hairstyling. Again, I'm adding Night Bitch, which is a little bit of a risk, especially considering the fact that I didn't finish the book. I'm curious to maybe hear from some who have. I don't know exactly how far this transformation is going to go, but we do see the beginnings of it. And I do think it's interesting because I have Night Bitch at 5 and I have The Substance at 10. And from people who have seen The Substance, they're like, oh, this has to be contender because of what it does with body horror makeup. And body horror, the Academy doesn't normally like it, even though there's a lot of work that goes into it. And Night Bitch is also kind of a body horror movie, at least from what I've seen so far. And I think it could go to some very disturbing places. And what saves it is that it's a movie that's in contention for more than just makeup, and voters are going to be watching it anyway. So who knows, this could go pretty far. Visual effects, not much has changed here. I've moved up Nosferatu and Gladiator, moved down Twisters and Furiosa because I'm still not... Twisters I almost had on, and then the reviews were like, it could, it couldn't, I don't know. I don't think there's going to be a ton of crazy blockbusters in here. I know Kingdom is in, and I know Mufasa's likely in, but a lot of the other movies are movies that are contending in other categories, and I do think that that's going to help in terms of... Yeah, I'm just rambling now. For Best Original Score, again, not much change has occurred here. I do have Challengers, as I talked about in the previous video. I think it makes sense that Challengers is, well, I said last time, a lone score nominee. It won't technically be a lone score nominee if it also gets screenplay. I feel like it's probably going to get one or the other, but I'm kind of hedging my bets on having it in for both places. And there's actually not a lot to say with the rest of this lineup. They're all movies that are likely in for Best Picture, except Joker, which I think, and Challengers, but Joker at least is going to be a musical. And it's in song as well. Wicked's in song. A lot of this stuff is in song. Diane Warren, here's your Oscar. The Challenger song is there. I included a Twister song at number 10. Okay, for Best Sound, do we have anything interesting here? I've moved Gladiator 2 in. I've moved Nosferatu at number 8. Yeah, I am, as I'm recording this, I'm starting to see why I always did it, going from documentary to picture. It gives me more of a sense of momentum. I really thought that this way would be better, but this is just a little failed experiment that you can laugh at together, and I probably won't do this again. Anything notable for animated feature? Still holding out hope for Wild Robot. I've moved Flow up, moved Wallace and Gromit up. Most Precious of Cargo's Memoir of a Snail. These canned movies, I'm not really sure how they might go on them. I took out Piece by Piece because, I don't know, after that trailer, I'm starting to think, like, is this really something that they're going to go for? Because is this Lego gimmick gonna work? Is there a point to it? I don't know. I don't know. International feature, I still have Emilia Perez at number 1. I moved up Count of Monte Cristo. Yeah, I'm just... Am I just not in the mood? I really do think it's better to record it the other way. Documentary feature, anything notable to say at all? Skywalker's A Love Story is on Netflix. I'm going to go watch it, but probably on a big screen, because people tell me to do it on a big screen. I moved up Remarkable Life of Ibelin over Piece by Piece. I think that's a really interesting documentary. I want to see that get some love. Yeah. Okay, so thank you for your patience, first of all, in waiting for this video. I'm probably not in the greatest mental space for a variety of different reasons. But things are getting better, and yeah, I'm probably gonna... I'm gonna find a way to make other videos to record and get back into this whole thing. But hopefully this works. Hopefully the video, like, you get it, and it's... Well, this was a failure. See you guys later.